Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jordan Cameron back with another update video. And as you guys know, in the last video, I said I was out of the market, right? 80% out of Bitcoin, 80% out of Ethereum, and looking forward to the bear market. Now, I want to make today's video because I do think at some point the market is going to provide a relief rally, right? I don't think it's very, very likely that the market is just going to continue down. I don't think it's likely that Bitcoin is going to continue down in a straight line. I don't think it's likely that total market cap is going to continue down in a straight line after breaking our macro support, right? And today we're going to go over what happened in the past when Bitcoin did break our 50 moving average band, as that was our invalidation. And we're also going to discuss sort of what I've seen on X the last few days, posting on X, and sort of a lot of the emotions that are swirling around right now in the market. So let's jump on in. If you enjoyed today's video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. Anyways, so last video we did talk about that Bitcoin broke the 50 moving average band, and that was our validation of our bullish thesis of Bitcoin, of the total market cap going to 10 trillion market cap. Now, is that still impossible? Absolutely not, right? There is still a way that could happen, but it is very less likely now that Bitcoin has broken the 50 moving average band. Okay. Now, like I said, I do not believe that Bitcoin is just going to continue down in a straight line. Okay. I think it's pretty likely that we're going to see a relief rally back to the 50 moving average band to retest it as resistance. The question is, where does that happen, right? Where does that happen for where Bitcoin does get a bounce back up? Well, I like to go look at the previous cycle, right? Let's go look at 2021 and where that relief rally happened after breaking the 50 moving average band to the downside. If you guys can see right over here back in December 2021, right in this candle here, you guys can see that we got our weekly close below the 50 moving average band. We did fall, right, for another week, right? But ultimately we did have a relief rally back up to the 50 moving average band, where that was sort of your final chance to exit the crypto market before ultimately you saw altcoins get absolutely slaughtered, and Bitcoin fall ultimately, right, another 70% to the downside, okay? But where did we get that relief rally, right? And I think if we kind of look at the structure of the market right now, it's pretty similar, right? We have this slightly higher high for Bitcoin, right, and a slightly higher high in 2021. Well, we got a relief rally when we came back into the cluster, right, the daily demand cluster, right, which was right here, right? So this previous support, right, this daily close cluster, right, ultimately somewhere in that region we found support, and then we got a rally back up to the 50 moving average band, confirmed as resistance before ultimately going lower, okay? And if we kind of look at the structure that we have right now, I think it's pretty likely that Bitcoin will get a bounce somewhere in this region, okay? We could already honestly be at it, right? We did hit the very, very top of that daily cluster right there at around 89,000, right? So we could have already hit the low before we get a relief rally. But I think it's likely in this zone, right? Very similar to the last cycle, that we see some type of relief rally back up to the 50 moving average band, okay? I want to make that very, very clear because that's what we did in the 2021 cycle into 2022 bear market, okay? And we could actually even go look back in 2017 to see that when we did break the 50 moving average band here back in 2017, right, it was kind of the same thing. We had actually two more red weekly candles before going back up and retesting the 50 moving average band as resistance before ultimately going lower, right? And we got a support, okay, where? Well, we found support back right in this daily cluster, right? This daily cluster of demand, right? Where we had the final blow off top, you came back down, right? Ultimately, you found support there. You rallied back up to the 50 moving average band after breaking it before going lower. So you guys can see that the main region of daily demand was the region where you got the bounce back up to the 50 moving average band. But ultimately, each time you broke the 50 moving average band, that was a bearish retest before ultimately you went lower, right? If I could get the arrow key, that would be very, very nice. before ultimately you went lower, right? The retest here, back up to 50 moving average band before you ultimately went lower, right? And now we find ourselves coming back into that daily demand cluster. Are we at the lows yet? I don't know, right? I have no clue if we are at the lows for Bitcoin on this, right, initial wave to the downside, okay? All I know right now is Bitcoin got a weekly close below the 50 moving average band, which to me signals the end of the 4-year cycle, okay? And I de-risked. And I don't know for 100% certainty, right? We don't know if the bull market's over, guys, for 100% certainty. I don't know that, right? I don't have a crystal ball. I'm just going based off probabilities based on the past, all right? I also don't know that it's 100% probability that Bitcoin is going to get a relief rally back up to the 50 moving average band. I don't know that, right? For certain. I do know that we've seen that in the previous 2 cycles. So I've de-risked, but I would not be surprised where if somewhere in between about 77,000 to this 89,000 high of this daily cluster, we do see Bitcoin rally back up to the 50 moving average band, which right now is at about 100,000 to 102,000, okay? Before it ultimately flips that into resistance and continues lower, okay? Because that's what we've seen in the previous 2 bull into bear markets, all right? So now that we have that out of the way, right, and we looked at how I would not be surprised if we get some type of relief rally back up from where, I don't know, somewhere between 77 and 91,000 back up to the 50 moving average band, which currently is in the low 100,000s, all right? As we kind of move along here and we looked at the time, right, the time where we rallied back up to the 50 moving average band back in 2021 was we got 1 close, 2 more weekly candles before ultimately the rally started back up to the 50 moving average band. Back in 2022, it was a close, 1, 2, 3, 4 weekly candles before moving back up to the 50 moving average band. So somewhere between 2 to 4 weeks before we found a low and ultimately move back up. Right now we are in week number 2, right? So that puts us in, the range of 2 to 4 weeks before we find some type of local low for Bitcoin. Could we go lower? Absolutely. I don't know for sure before we rally back up to the 50 moving average band. But I don't know that for a certain, guys, right? And that's why I've de-risked after this weekly close, because I don't know for certain if we will rally back up there. We've seen it in the past, but I don't know, okay? And that's okay for me not to know. All right. Now, what I want to touch on here, okay, and we're not going to talk about too much about, too many other things. The other thing I want to touch on is our stablecoin dominance chart and why it probably makes sense for us to see some type of relief rally within the next few weeks, because we have seen stablecoin dominance reach back up to this 8.8% level where we've seen 2 rejections, and that ultimately started sort of higher pushes for Bitcoin ultimately. But we do know that stablecoin dominance put in a massive higher low here, and this is forming some type of Wyckoff accumulation, in my personal opinion, for stablecoin dominance. And we know if stablecoin dominance moves up, crypto moves down, and if stablecoin dominance moves down, crypto moves up. The question I have is, will we see some type of little pullback here for stablecoin dominance while Bitcoin gets a retrace back up to the 50 moving average band? But then ultimately that pullback for stablecoin dominance leads to higher, right, and sort of the breakout of this range to the upside before Bitcoin, right, and the crypto market as a whole goes lower, okay? And that's ultimately what I'm watching here. I don't know if this is going to act as resistance, guys. I have no clue for sure if it is going to act as resistance. That's why I've de-risked personally. Okay, it could just push through here, and I want to be prepared for that. Okay, now I want to touch on, while we've touched on those things right here for the past 10 minutes on the channel, I want to touch on the sentiment over on X, because as I've kind of looked through X and the sentiment here, you guys know on the channel that even when we were above the 50 moving average band, I stated multiple times that my invalidation was Bitcoin breaking the 50 moving average band for me to turn bearish. And it's almost as if people did not listen to that, right? Me explain that for weeks, even months when we were up in this range, that I was bullish unless my bearish invalidation was hit. Okay, everyone just wanted to hear the bullish side, but did not hear the bearish side, where if Bitcoin did get a break below the 50 moving average band, I would flip bearish. And I would be the first one to come on here to admit, hey, my thesis may be wrong. I'm flipping bearish, so I don't bag hold these bags all the way to zero, okay, or all the way down 70, 80, 90%, which we typically see in bear markets, okay? People didn't want to hear that, okay? Now I've come out and said it, all right? A lot of people hating on me for that, and that's okay. I'm willing to live with those decisions, and I'm willing to live with that, okay? Because my invalidation this entire time, even when we were at the tariff lows down here at 74, 75K for Bitcoin during here in March and April, was that if Bitcoin breaks here, we're going into a bear market. It did not break that time. We continue higher. Great. We came back down to retest it here at about 109, 99,000, 100,000. We broke it this time. So my view has changed. Okay, and people don't want to hear that, and they hate that I'm seeing on those posts. It is giving me the illusion that a lot of people are hoping and believing that we do get a bounce back up so they can finally get out of those bags. And I don't like that hope and illusion. Okay, and it sort of adds to my thought process of the market ultimately continuing lower, even if we do have a relief rally. I think a lot of people are just looking to get out of the market, right? And sort of that thought process. So, guys, you live with your own decisions, right? I've hit my bearish invalidation. Okay, I told you that for weeks before we even did it. Okay, that if it did happen, that's what I was going to do. Why are you acting surprised now once I've done it? Okay, don't act surprised. I've done it. You do whatever decision you want to do, okay? Now, leaving on that note, all right, the last thing I kind of want to talk about here is I don't want to get into the assumption of how low I think Bitcoin could go if this is the top, okay? But all I know is, guys, and I've discussed this sort of on X, and I made a post about it today, and a lot of people weren't happy about it, but what if the 4-year cycle is just playing out again, right? Where Bitcoin from high to high went up for 204 weeks, okay, or approximately 4 years, all right? And we know that every single bear market for Bitcoin, right, starts in Q4 of the post-halving year, okay? We're in Q4 of the post-halving year, and lasts approximately 1 year, right? We had a 1-year bear market here, right? 52 weeks in 2021. We had a 1-year bear market here, right? 52 weeks in 2018. This one was slightly longer, right? For some other circumstances, but 59 weeks in 2013, all right? What if, crazy, I know, it's a crazy take that we could just do the same thing that we've done already 4 times. Bitcoin, September 29th, topped, and we're looking at a low somewhere, right, at the end of 2026, right, in September, October 2026. Doesn't sound too far-fetched, right? Now, I'm not going to talk about price levels of where I think, we could bottom. I think based on history, it is more prudent to sort of look at time frame, right? Waiting for Bitcoin to go down for a year before you bid. Things could change, right? But ultimately, the way I'm sort of looking at this is where, right, do we draw the line, right? Where do you draw the line, right? We've clearly broken. Where do you draw the line? Where's your invalidation? My invalidation may not be your invalidation, but I think it's very prudent, especially in the crypto market, to have some type of invalidation where you say, hey, I'm wrong. I think that takes someone with some dignity and some truthfulness to say, hey, I was wrong, right? I was wrong about being bullish, or I was wrong about being bearish. If you were a bear throughout this whole bear market or bull market, right? To come out and say you've changed your mind, right? Because what you said before happened, right? You broke the 50 moving average band. That's exactly what I needed to see. So what do you need to see in order to flip? I'm not saying you should flip. Maybe you're invalid. You're a long-term holder and you want to hold unless Bitcoin breaks 20,000, right? Or unless Bitcoin breaks 15,000. I don't know what your invalidation is. Just make sure you have one. Okay. Now, that's pretty much what I want to talk about today, guys. Is don't be blinded, right? I've been talking about the bullish and bearish scenarios for months, right? Don't be blinded by now me talking only about the bearish scenarios. There is a bullish scenario where Bitcoin gets back above the 50 moving average band, and then we can start talking about some craziness happening. But until then, my thought process is we probably find some type of low in this region here, right, between 77,000 and 89,000. And then we get some type of relief rally back up to the 50 moving average band, right? Wherever that is at the time, it's going to move down now as price is below it, right? Before ultimately we end up going lower, just like in every bear market, right? You break it, go back and retest, go lower. You break it, go back and retest, go lower. You break it, you go back and retest, you go lower. But ultimately, remember, the biggest drops in the bear markets actually come after you retest the 50 moving average band. All right. So that's it for today, guys. Just an update video. I don't think Bitcoin's going to go straight down. Could it? Absolutely. I would not rule that out of Bitcoin just capitulating down because I think there is a lot of hope in the market still that prices do go higher. Does Bitcoin give you an exit pump? I think it's probably more likely we do get a relief rally back up to the 50 moving average band, but I don't think it's guaranteed. So anyways, as we kind of go along here, that's pretty much it for me in today's video. I'm not going to talk too much about altcoins today because ultimately I think if Bitcoin goes down, I think altcoins go down. If Bitcoin does get a relief rally back up, I think altcoins get a relief rally back up, right? But ultimately what it really comes down to right now is this cluster of support here for Bitcoin, right? This resistance on stablecoin dominance. Does it get rejected temporarily to allow a relief rally? Does it break higher to sort of just say, hey, the cycle's over. This is just going to moon to the upside while crypto goes down? I don't know. Ultimately, my thoughts is this is kind of my main thought process at the moment, right? Relief rally before lower. Could be wrong. If I'm wrong, once again, I'll come out and say I'm wrong. That's the way I'm looking at it right now, my friends. But anyways, it's been your boy Jordan Cameron. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thank you for coming. Subscribe if you're new. And catch you guys in the next one. Peace.